The dominance of Red Bull will continue at least until 2026. The RB20 has not fully demonstrated its potential, and the team believes there is room for improvement. The new car has opened up many new avenues for development, which will ensure the team's continuous improvement leading up to the implementation of the new regulations in 2026. How will this impact Formula One? Will the FIA intervene and combat Red Bull's dominance? And how did Toto Wolff react to this, surprising everyone with his statement? The new season gave us hope that we would finally see a championship battle. It seemed like all the teams were beginning to understand the secrets of the current rules and would finally build competitive cars. There were high hopes for many, but they dwindled as the start of the season approached. Footage from the first appearance of the new Red Bull car on the track already made other teams nervous, especially Mercedes, who noticed some details on the car of their rivals that reminded them of their past concept, which they had abandoned. Even more concern arose from the footage of the car presentation. It was clear from them that there were vertical inlet openings and modified side pods. It became evident that Red Bull wasn't merely refining their previous car. The team decided to make an aggressive evolution of the car to provide themselves with more opportunities for further improvement and to keep their competitors at bay. Speaking about the motivation behind these changes, Red Bull's chief engineer, Paul Monahan, stated that this alteration aimed to ensure the ability to continue unlocking performance until the rule change in 2026. However, this is likely to be the final significant leap in the car's evolution, because from the next year onwards, they'll need to develop a car for 2026. The fact that Red Bull will focus on the next generation car gives little hope for a championship battle in the final year of the current regulations. Optimism is also fueled by statements from Mercedes' technical director, James Allison, who believes that the current cars will soon reach their limit, and no one will be able to significantly improve their performance. But is this really the case? It seems that Red Bull has not reached its limit yet and is unlikely to do so. The team's chief engineer, Paul Monahan, stated that a preliminary analysis of the RB20 showed that there are still many opportunities for improvement, which will significantly complicate the task for its rivals to catch up. At the moment, gains are still there. Magnitude-wise, at the moment, we can find similar gains to last year. I suspect towards the end of the year it may well diminish a bit, but we've got some brilliantly creative people, and if they find it, then we'll take it. It's as simple as that. Such confidence from Red Bull and the new problems faced by their competitors create the impression that the dominance will continue. Drawing on examples from previous championships and analyzing Red Bull's and Mercedes' past victories, it should be expected that the balance of power will remain unchanged until the rule change. But will the FIA intervene? And what do Red Bull's competitors, especially the Mercedes team, think about this? One of the main goals of the current technical regulations was to ensure high competition and avoid the dominance of a single team. However, the FIA has not succeeded in this task. While the midfield has become more tightly packed, especially in qualifying where the results have become very similar, the gap to the pole sitter isn't as large as before, and drivers from weaker teams regularly make it into the top 10. But in the race, the situation is completely different. Red Bull enjoys a huge advantage that eliminates intrigue and diminishes interest in Formula One, as indicated by the decrease in viewership for the first two races compared to 2023. The dominance of one team and the declining interest in Formula One may compel the FIA to make rule changes even before 2026. An example of this could be the rule change before the 2021 season, which mostly affected the Mercedes team. As a result, we witnessed one of the best seasons in Formula One history. Of course, Red Bull will oppose such changes if they see that they significantly harm their car and cast doubt on their championship victory. However, it was precisely Red Bull and Christian Horner who were among those actively pushing for rule changes during Mercedes' dominance. They argued that dominance harms Formula One, and the FIA needs to find a way to equalize the team's strengths. But will there be advocates for rule changes now? Mercedes could be the team demanding rule changes, as they have experienced the biggest drop compared to the previous technical regulations. However, it seems that this won't happen. The team principal of Mercedes, Toto Wolff, believes that it would be a mistake to follow the path chosen by Christian Horner in 2015 when he called on the FIA to change the rules and slow down Mercedes. It would be wrong to spend time thinking that the rules are to blame for what is happening now, as he assumes that Red Bull's opponents should simply do their job better. I don't want to fall in the trap of a fellow team principal from next door in 2014-15 who said we should change the regs because it's too dominant. I think they have done by far the best job of all the teams over the last 2 years, and credit where credit is due. I mean, they are literally disappearing in the distance as they want, and there's nobody else close. It's just that they are in a different league, and our sport is an honest sport. The best performance is being rewarded from car, from machine and man. Such a statement seems logical, considering that not so long ago, Mercedes itself was a dominant force in Formula One. However, it looks strange against the backdrop of recent desires to change the regulations. In 2022, the first year of the current technical regulations, Mercedes advocated for changes to increase the minimum distance from the car's floor to the track. This was justified by the need to combat cars bouncing at high speeds, which could harm the driver. The reason is significant, but not only because of it did Mercedes attempt to change the rules. Another reason was the performance of the cars. Mercedes suffered the most from cars bouncing, and certainly the most among the top 3 teams. Red Bull and Ferrari had much fewer issues with this, and they were not eager to agree to rule changes because it would affect their performance. Therefore, by changing the rules, Mercedes was able to partially address its problem and catch up with its competitors. These actions indicate that when it benefits them, Mercedes, like any other team, is willing to advocate for rule changes to improve the performance of their car or reduce the performance of their rivals. But then why is Mercedes avoiding this now? One reason might be the incomplete understanding of the current regulations. To demand changes, one must understand what needs to be changed, and such understanding might be lacking. Red Bull doesn't have a single strong aspect that stands out compared to other teams, and that could be influenced by rule changes. They have a well-rounded car that doesn't have weak points. In that case, it's difficult to somehow reduce the performance of the Red Bull car without harming everyone else. Even if there is some speed secret to the RB20, it's certainly not known to other teams. So all that remains for Mercedes and other teams is to improve their cars and hope they can catch up to Red Bull. But what should Formula One do in this situation? Should it fight domination in another way, such as reducing wind tunnel testing time or decreasing the financial limit for the champion team? Or should it not specifically target Red Bull, but rather focus on creating rules where all teams are on equal footing and let the best team win? Share your thoughts in the comments.